Welcome to the 50 for 50 podcast for Sycamore View Church of Christ in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm your host, Anna Moser. In 2028, our church will turn 50. As we look forward to that celebration, we're taking a look back at the stories and people who have shaped our church. 50 stories over 50 months to celebrate 50 years. I encourage you to jump on our website, sycamoreview.org/50-4-50 to watch a short video telling this month's story. We'll be diving deeper into that story here with a special guest each month. So let's jump right in. So it's the month of May, and it's very fitting that it's our first month to have some ladies on the podcast, and it's the month of Mother's Day, and we're talking about a really special woman in our church family, Tricia Lillard, and kind of the impact that she's had on a lot of families that have fostered and adopted here at our church. And so I have with me today her daughter, Callie Lillard, and one of her friends and somebody that's really had her life shaped by Tricia, Melanie Parent. So welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Can you start by telling us a little bit about how long you've been at Sycamore View and what brought you here?
Go ahead. You came first, okay. I think, right?
I started coming here about 2003, the end of 2003. Moved back to Memphis from college and was just looking for a church home that had a good young professionals class, and Ashley Foreman was actually the one that said, hey, I'll visit Sycamore View with you if you want, because they have a great class. And so she came with me one Sunday and got involved in the young professionals class and kind of have just been here ever since.
That's awesome. I never knew that. I love that.
Yeah.
I think I came first, actually. You say 2003?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we started coming like as a family my senior year, which was 2001.
Okay.
Like the fall of 2001. It was like in the middle of Mom being diagnosed with breast cancer for the first time, which was a journey for sure. And but it was great the way Sycamore View, we had a lot of friends here already that just welcomed us and took care of us. So that was, of course, I was in and out for college and stuff after that. But yeah, so that's like almost 23 years.
And she had how many rounds of cancer?
So she had breast cancer in 2001, a recurrence of that, spread metastasis, it became stage 4 in 2004. And then in 2010 was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which was just like random, basically. It wasn't related to the breast cancer at all. And then I think the breast cancer popped up in a lymph node once more after that. She was still getting treated for the breast cancer the entire time that the pancreatic cancer was going on. But yeah, so that, I guess ultimately the pancreatic cancer, she had surgery and chemo for that in 2010 and 2011, and it recurred in early 2013. And then she died in May of 2013.
Well, I never had the privilege to get to know Tricia, but I've heard a lot of things about her, especially for her heart for children. But can you, for those of us that didn't know her, can you tell us some fun things about her, just things that she was known for in our church family?
Yeah, I feel like she was a little bit of a jack of all trades. She was a super fun mom. Like I used to say she was like a Pinterest mom before Pinterest was a thing. Then the last couple years of her life, Pinterest was a thing and she was on it. So then it was just like craziness. But like she would grow real Easter grass in our Easter baskets and just do all kinds of just stuff like that, like, again, Pinteresty things. So just fun little things like that. She was just super fun mom. She was really good as a mom and especially as a grandparent at playing with us and with the kids, like just looking through pictures. For this video, I came across pictures of her like with her face painted. This was like just a couple months before she died, and she had the grandkids at an Easter egg hunt, and they had their faces painted, and she got her face painted, and just doing, there's pictures of them and her with hats on at A. Schwab's downtown, which now, like in a post-COVID world, I'm like, I can't believe y'all put those on your head. But there she's like in Bob Marley hat with the kids.
So
but yeah, she was just super fun and just wanted to she really valued kids and just spending time with them and not just overseeing them kind of. She loved to garden. She was a great gardener. She was a great singer. People loved to sit in front of her in church. Yeah, she had a really pretty alto voice. I'm sure still does. What else? She seemed to have endless energy. Like, I also came across a picture today. It was like 3 weeks before, maybe 4 weeks before she died, little less than a month. And she's out in the yard building raised garden beds. And she's like skin and bones.
Wow.
We're about to travel the next day for surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, she was pretty independent, and if she wanted something to happen, she just made it happen. She was pretty feisty, I feel like. And again, probably still is. She had a really good sense of humor. She was good at laughing at herself. And she told us, she was like, I know after I die, y'all are still going to make fun of things that I said. And she was like, that's okay. I want y'all to still laugh at me once I'm gone.
I love that.
Yeah, I remember her for the Fiesta cake auction.
Yep.
Making cakes with her ivy pole, pulling it around the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
as she did all that. So yeah, she was a go-getter for sure.
She managed the resource room for years too.
Yeah, that
right?
was her thing. On Wednesday nights, you could find her and Patty McDonald there.
Yeah, they're doing all the stuff. That's awesome.
Yep.
And so, Callie, in the video, I did not know this, but you grew up with over 30 foster children in your house.
Yeah, I think it was almost 30.
Almost 30.
But yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
It was, honestly, the first word that comes to mind is fun, which is good. I mean, there were obviously challenges to it, but the majority of the kids in our home were babies, were newborns, and it was the best surprise in the world when Mom would pick me up from school one day and there'd be a baby in the backseat that I didn't know was coming.
Yeah.
And because we had very little preparation most of the time. So it was fun. I still love babies. Take care of them for a living. I don't know if I would be doing that had I not grown up with them in my house, but it was like I had my own little live baby doll when I was little, and honestly, even when I was older. But obviously, there's challenges. I feel like I learned, we didn't call it grief when I was 6 and 7, but I feel like I learned grief about it at a young age with that and got to see how she experienced that. And there was, because all but 2 of them left. I have a forever brother and sister because of foster care, but we've stayed in touch with a lot of them, and they're extended family members. But yeah, there was, like I said, there's definitely challenges and hardships for sure. But I think all in all, it was a really positive and character building experience. It kind of, I feel like, exposed us to things that we wouldn't have known otherwise. I could see my life being very sheltered, except for the fact that I learned about, moms who use drugs when they were pregnant, or people who abuse their babies. And, I wouldn't, if I didn't know those kids and know those moms, I don't know that I would have just shaped my worldview, I guess.
Yeah.
Totally changed it.
Yeah. I never thought about what you do for a living, connecting to being around babies so much. So that's really neat. I love that.
One thing I will never forget is that one thing that you said early on when I first got to know you was that you never learned more about God than you did, when your mom was serving with foster care, and doing that along with her shaped your faith as well so much. That's always stuck with me.
That's beautiful. Cool thing. I love that. So since Tricia's passing 10 years ago, Callie, you and others have kind of filled the gap of service to families that are helping vulnerable children through the Handprints ministry here at Sycamore View. Can you tell us about all that ministry does?
Yeah, sure. And Mom was actually part of starting that. She was, I guess it was 2011, 2012, kind of when that was starting. I think first and foremost, we're kind of just a community. There's foster and adopted families in that community. And, if a new foster placement comes in, then kind of rally around and be like, what do you need? Send out text messages. So-and-so's getting a baby. They need this. So it looks like a lot of it looks like that, but then also we're probably, as far as project type things go, the Red Tub Day project is the most popular for sure, and one everybody knows about, where we help provide Christmas gifts for children who are in foster care in Shelby County. And that's a multi-church citywide project that we do. We're part of an organization. I don't know if that's the right word, but MyFam, which is Memphis Interfaith Foster and Adoption Ministries. And again, multi-church, multi-denomination group of, we meet one Thursday a month, and just share kind of what's going on at different churches and different organizations. There's representatives from DCS that come to those meetings that let us know how we can help. So, sort of feel like we're like connecting people to service opportunities. We'll do like this weekend, which will have already happened by the time the podcast airs, but we're hosting a conference here at Sycamore View that MyFam is putting on. We're just the host site for it, but helping with that. And there's volunteer opportunities at that and educational opportunities for people who want to be involved in foster care and adoption.
I'm really glad that all that you do. So thank you for that. Melanie, you went through the process of fostering and adopting your daughter. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you felt that call to foster and adoption back in 2012?
Sure. Yeah. I volunteered with the youth group a lot I started maybe like 2006 and was pretty involved with the youth group through Sophie being 5 or 6-ish maybe. And so I went on a lot of trips with them and took my first overseas mission trip to Panama in 2012, and just fell in love with the kids there, and just loved being with them, taking care of them, just sharing life with them. And all the kids and the adults kind of joked about Melanie's just going to bring home a Panamanian child from this trip. And I got home and was just kind of thinking about things. And I thought, honestly, why couldn't I? Kids need this and I can provide this. And, the Bible tells us to take care of the fatherless. And there's no scripture that says wait until God gifts you with a husband or a certain type of lifestyle to do that. They just, scripture just says do it. And so I started praying about it and talking to people about it. And Callie and Tricia were naturally some people that came to mind. And so pretty quickly, I sought out Callie. I can't remember. I feel like it was like a Sunday or Wednesday night. And I was on this mission to talk to Callie.
And we were really friends.
Yeah, I really didn't know her.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, so Callie, when can you get coffee and talk about this? And she's like, probably sometime in the next week. And I was like, so what are you doing right now, after church? And so we went and had coffee and we talked about a ton of this. And she talked to me about some great resources that she really thought were important to just kind of prepare me for adoption. And at that time, I really thought that I was going to adopt either from Panama or, overseas, and was really looking into that process. And found out that with Panama, you kind of have to live in the country for 3 months before you can adopt a child. And so there were certain things that just couldn't happen physically with my job and all of that. And so things got ruled out, and it kind of got narrowed down to I was going to adopt from Honduras, and that branch of the government just totally froze, and they weren't placing children with families that were ready. And it didn't feel right. It didn't feel what God had called me to wait another 5 or 6 years. And the other funny part is Callie talked to me about foster care through this whole thing. And I was like, yeah, I don't really think so. Yeah. That seems hard. And so anyway, it kind of seemed like it was a little dead in the water for a few months. And we did one of the Red Tub Christmas parties. And Tricia introduced me to a lady named Jane Nason. And her husband, Mike, had worked with DCS for many years, and they knew a lot about foster care and had also done foster care. And they were good friends with Tricia and Randy. And so I talked with her and learned a lot more about what that would look like to foster. And I prayed about it and thought, maybe this is exactly what I'm meant to do. And so started looking into that more and talked to Jim and Stacy a good bit about this during that time. And at the same time, Stacy was also, going through her own things of her family, really feeling that call to do something as well. So it was just an amazing God thing that it was a kind of this simultaneous thing that we did separately that ended up being such a huge blessing and is still a huge blessing in my life. So we started that process of taking classes and doing what we needed to do, and got approved. And my first placement was a little girl that was placed with me in January of 2014. Yeah. Because Tricia never got to meet any of my foster babies.
I think y'all were just maybe starting classes. You had started them.
I had started them, because I got approved in June of 2013, right after she had passed. And
I think the Hinkles at that time were like, we're taking them to support Melanie.
Yeah, Jim was so much like, I am like Uncle Jim. I am not here for my own family. So yeah. But yeah, so the first foster daughter came into my home, and she was with me for about 4 months, and she went to live with birth family. And then so there was a summer between when Sophie came along, and it was just kind of like, what's going to happen next? And so I got a call on a Friday afternoon. I had plans for dinner and a movie with a friend that night. And I called her and said, I got to cancel because there's a baby that needs to be taken care of. And so we hustled, and Callie and Stacy and my mom went with me to the hospital to get her. And, I hadn't eaten dinner. Yeah. Stacy packed me some nuts and cheese, and we ate in the car. And it was a really special thing just to have them with me as I went to get her. And at that time, Dad had no idea that she would be my daughter. And it's just been a huge blessing to get to where we are today.
Yeah, so you've had quite a group of people rally around you to help you. Can you tell us how that's been to have the support of friends and family in our church during that season?
Yeah, absolutely. Our church is amazing at it. There's so many things. Definitely the Hinkles still to this day are a huge support to me. And I will say with Tricia, before a foster baby even came along, we were trying to figure out this whole who's going to keep this baby while I go to work? And what's logistically, what's this going to look like? And Tricia was she was scheduled for her Whipple surgery, I think. And I mean, all of this was going on with her. And she's like, I'm just going to keep this baby. Just whatever baby comes, I've just decided I'm going to do this. This baby is not going to go to someone's house. I'm going to keep this baby. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
she ruined Melanie's plans.
So
even babysitting.
Yeah. So even with that, I mean, they were just so supportive. And, one thing I mentioned, the resources that Callie had talked about, Empowered to Connect is one of them, of just the realities of what raising a child from a background of trauma can be like, and that it's not all roses and happiness all the time. And there are some hard things that go along with it. And it's a program that has just a whole lot of information and of support about how to navigate through that. And so that was huge for just supporting my process of someone coming along and being like, hey, you need to have all the information. And they were really helpful with that. Another thing that our church did, our clothing sale ministry was huge. They would give me a credit and let me come and shop for foster kids during their sales.
And they still do that.
A placement. Yeah, they still do that.
For any of our foster families.
And did it for many others. So so that was a huge blessing. And just that our church is really like every ministry that we have tries to kind of keep that in mind, I feel like. And then a huge thing that was like, I still to this day just cannot believe that our church did this for me. But Carl Helton had talked to me. I'd bought a house in 2016 and we were moving and had a backyard. And but in the whole closing process, they were taking their swing set with them, their whole play set thing. And I was like, yeah, they're going to take it, but we'll get one eventually. It'll be fine. I was telling Carl all this. We were about to go on trek with the youth group. And so we went on trek and I came home and my mom met me with Sophie and she said, you need to go out in the backyard. And so I go in the backyard and there is this amazing wooden playhouse, outdoor thing for Sophie, and assembled already together, ready to play on. And I was like, Mom, I can't believe you did this. And she says, I did it. It was all the people from church and they surprised you with it. And so Carl had talked to everyone, families in the youth group, and they all just pitched in money. And John French and Chris Johnson and Kevin Myers and Chuck Petrie on a very, very, very hot July day with not a tree in sight in my backyard, put together this swing set with 1,000 screws and parts. And it would have never happened. It just would have never happened without them. And so, yeah, they orchestrated this huge, amazing surprise. And it was just such a blessing. Our church loves foster families so well. So, yeah, I think, like Callie was saying, we would just call, hey, we got a foster baby that has come into care. We need this and this and this. I don't think I bought diapers for Sophie until she was like 5 months old. So people just showed up. And even though they had no idea whether this kid was staying or whether they were going or what it was, no one cared. They were just there to be supportive. And that is just huge. It's just, you can't even, it's priceless what that means to you when you're going through all of that. So it's pretty amazing and still supportive now. So.
Good. Well, I'm really praying that sharing Tricia's story and hearing about your experiences, I hope that there's people that maybe haven't really thought about foster care and adoption for themselves. And now this gets them thinking about it. And maybe other people feel that calling in our church. So we kind of have another generation of people that are impacted by this call. But if somebody's thinking that, where do they start? Do they find you after church and ask you to go to coffee?
Yeah. It happens. Melanie did that. The Moreros did that. And, I'm a huge proponent of people in foster care, but it's like I said, the Moreros were like, you want to come over for dinner sometime? And we just want to talk to you about what this looks like. And they ended up adopting internationally. I think talking to people is the first step. Talking to people, and I've never adopted, just to put that out there. You don't have to adopt to make a difference and to care for orphans. But I think talking to people is the first step. Talking to people who've been there. If you're interested in foster care, talk to somebody who's done foster care. Of course you can talk to me. I know a lot about it and just a lot of people and resources. But if you want to adopt, talk to somebody who's adopted. I think we took Melanie to the Empowered to Connect conference, which is now called the Hope for the Journey conference. I think going to something like that's huge because you kind of I have always sort of thought, not always, but in the last 15 years or so, that you kind of, before you say yes to adoption, you should kind of almost be talked out of it because you need to count the costs and learn about the challenges that you might face. And, that's kind of what we did with Melanie. And she just stuck with it and was like, okay, I'm, and it's equipping yourself to do it well, to be the best parents, that you can be to that child. So going to conferences like that, trainings that are available, there's, like I said, we have one this weekend, which will have already happened when this airs, but it's a good place to meet people and just to gather information.
And you don't
What
have to
else?
even wait for a
Yeah.
conference because we have DVDs. We have
That's right. Yeah, there's tons of
videos.
stuff online.
there are resources no
Yeah.
matter when you want to do it or time wise, even if it's difficult to get there for the weekend. Like there are definitely ways that you can kind of figure some things out with resources we have.
And I love what you just said, Callie, and this in the video, that not every Christian can adopt, but every Christian can care for the fatherless. And I love that there are a lot of opportunities that you've already mentioned about how to step in and help, even if that's not maybe something you're in the season of being able to bring into your own home. But there's a lot of different ways that you can step in and be a part of that, because we all have that call on us as Christians.
I think that was something that, like, toward when we started Handprints, kind of toward the end of Mom's life, like, she had always done foster care, and she grew up in a home where her parents did foster care. I think she just thought it was something that people did. You know, like her people did. Her family did it. She was comfortable doing it, but I think she became really convicted in the last several years of her life that, like, oh, wait a second, like, the Bible, the scriptures are for all of us, and we might not everybody can adopt or should adopt or foster, but everybody can do something. And like Melanie just listed a whole bunch of ways that people did something. There's lots of volunteer opportunities. I mean, things like Red Tub Day is huge. I think I think proximity is everything. Like when you know names and faces, like it makes it real, you know? And so even just like following an organization on Facebook, like Tennessee Kids Belong, where there are pictures that are in front of you, kids you can pray for, kids you could potentially meet at different events. And like Red Tub, if you volunteer at Red Tub Day, you can meet a lot of kids. Yeah.
I love that you meet their you meet the foster families too with the Red Tub Day when you go to the party that day. And it's really cool just to see families from all walks of life.
Yeah.
And
there's no like one
you've
size
been there.
fits all.
Yeah.
I was sitting there with one of my friends from small group who has been in school some, and she recognized like somebody that was a student in a program she taught. And she's like, I had no idea that they maybe they weren't in the system then and they are now, or maybe they were that this whole time, but and there's no like cookie cutter family of like race or age or anything. Like every family just looked different, and it was really beautiful to see that.
Yeah, it definitely helps shape your worldview, like Callie was saying. You know, it's like there are definitely things that I know now and have compassion for now.
Well, I'm so thankful for both of you, and I think something that's really special to me about Sycamore View that I didn't really see growing up is like single women in their adult. We've talked about having a dating podcast, but this is not that podcast today. But I think both of you are just such great examples of just not like waiting for like someday to like make a difference in children's lives or to bring one into your family, like you were saying, but just like living out God's calling for whatever season your life is in. And life doesn't always look the way that we think it's going to look. And Tricia is an example of that too. Like we would love for her to be here, but she's not. But like making the most out of continuing her legacy and living each day and what God has called you to do. And both of you guys are really great examples of that to me. And I look up to both of you. So thank you for coming on today to talk to us about this, because I just think there's such a beautiful story here that I think will shape other people. So I have one more question for you before we finish. I'm asking everybody to kind of have like a one sentence prayer or hope for our church as we're going to be celebrating 50 years in 2028. And so we're going to kind of put them all together at the end to have a full prayer from lots of different voices for our church as we look into the next 50 years. So would you guys like to add a sentence prayer to that?
Do you want to go first?
Sure, Melanie. I was thinking about this as it relates to Mom and her story specifically. And there's a Mother Teresa quote that's, if I look at the masses, I will never act. If I look at the one, I will. And Mom was really good about that. Mother Teresa was obviously really good about that. But Mom was really good about like just dropping everything on a day if she found out that there was, a plus size kid in foster care who didn't have a coat. Like we'd be at the big and tall store shopping for a coat, just like whatever the needs of whoever came across her path. If it was within her power to meet it, she was going to make that happen or make a call or whatever. So I think my prayer for Sycamore View would just be that as a church and as individuals, that like we will go through life with our eyes and ears open to the needs of the people that God allows us to cross paths with, and that we'll be willing to, risk maybe our discomfort or risk our comfort to help meet those needs.
It's pretty good prayer for our church. Yeah. And I would just add to that, that our church will always be a church that welcomes people on the margins that don't always feel like they fit or don't have a place, that we would always make them feel welcome and that they can be part of our family. And that we would just always just be open to the opportunities and not miss them because we get so entrenched in our regular routines and schedules. And, we don't really volunteer with that ministry. We just only do this one, just being open to those opportunities of getting involved and just kind of going where you feel God leading you. That I just pray that our church will always be a church that they find that important, because they have been for a long time. So,
well, thank you both so much. And I hope everybody will hop on and watch your video telling this story as well, because it's beautiful to hear the impact on a lot of different families here at our church beyond your experience. Lots of great experiences through Tricia.
Families.
Yeah, lots of families
church,
have been blessed, and our whole church has been blessed through this process. And next month we'll be coming back here and we'll be talking about Juneteenth and when our church started celebrating that holiday. So looking forward to that. So we'll see you then.